Okay, now for this scarf, you will need, now I didn't bring it over here, but you will need, I'm using a size H to do the body of the scarf. This is a 5.0 millimeter hook, but I would suggest using a 6 millimeter to do your chain. And then you will need a darning needle to put in your ends and some scissors. Now I'm using 2 colors here to do mine, and this is Big Twist Heather. It's 380 yards with 6 ounces, 347 meters, 170 grams. This is a number 4 weight yarn. The suggested hook size is a 5 millimeter. And this color is denim. I'm also using a yarn by I Love This Yarn. This is a print. It's called Fuzzy Slippers. It is also a 5 ounce skein of yarn. However, it has 252 yards, which is typical of I Love This Yarn. Both of these are 100% acrylic. And the suggested hook size on this one is actually a little bit higher. It isn't a USI or a 5.5 millimeter. But for the purposes of doing my scarf, I use the I to do my chain, which is actually a little bit higher than what this yarn talks about. So just refer to your label and go up a size when you do your chain. Okay, now let's get started. Now, of course, you can use any size 4 yarn in 2 colors for this scarf. This is going to be a smaller sample for you, so I will not be chaining the entire amount. But this one, this scarf, I chained 252. So if you want it to be the size of mine, then chain 252. And as you can see, I'm chaining loosely with a size I hook, which is 1 size up from the label on this yarn. Now, once you have your chain, you're going to switch to your H hook. You're going to yarn over. You're going to go into the second chain from the hook. So this one is our working chain that's on the hook. The next one, you'll see that loop there. And now this loop here, we're going to go the second chain, go in, pull up, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3, which is a half double crochet. We're going to do this all the way across. Yarn over, go into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops, and you now have another half double crochet. Go into the stitch. Now you have 3 loops, pull through all 3. Okay, we're going to go all the way across, and I will see you when we turn. Now we are at the end of our row. You should have 252 stitches. If you don't have 252, be sure you have an even number. Now we're going to chain 2 and turn. And for the entirety of the scarf, we're going to be working in the back loop only. So this first row winds up being our foundation row. And from now on, we work in the back loop. You're going to yarn over, go into the next stitch through that back loop only, pull up a loop, and go through all 3, doing another half double. So yarn over, and I tip it towards me so I can see the top ridge. Go into the back loop, pull up a loop, and go through all 3. And you're going to do this all the way to the other end. Back loop only. Coming up to the end, this is my last stitch. As you can see, there's a little knot on the end. We're not going to go into that. This is row 2. We're going to go into this last stitch, which has the V, and take that back loop, pull up a loop, and go through all 3. Now we're going to, we are not going to chain up yet. This is how you're going to change your colors. And you're going to change your colors after every 2 rows. All right, so now we are going to cut our yarn, leave ourselves a little tail to weave in. We're not going to pull the loop through. We're going to add in our second color inside of this loop. So we're going to get ourselves a tail, fold it over and get ourselves a tail. Put our hook into the loop. We're going to put that loop on our hook and pull that through that loop. We're going to tighten that a little bit. Now these are not going to stay tight. You're going to have to redo it. Now you're going to do your chain. So chain 2. And you see it tends to loosen up on you. I just give them a little tighten. Now I turn. Going to yarn over. I'm going to go into that first stitch into the back loop and do my half double crochet. And now we are going to do our drop stitch. And I'm calling it a drop stitch, just you can call it whatever you wish. But on this next stitch, we're going to drop down to this row below. So we are not going to yarn over for the drops, okay? So you're just going to go from that half double and going to go straight down here, and we're going to be going into the next stitch. And I'm going to go around the belly of that next stitch. So it's right down here. Yarn over, and we're going to exaggerate that when we pull it up. Yarn over and pull through. And I would like you to note that when you are doing this, you need to pay attention to how things are lining up, because this chain here is over this end stitch here. Then the next one is a half double, you can see that there, and the next one you're doing is your drop down stitch. Now we're going to go back, yarn over, and I'm going to move this towards me. It's the next one in line, and do the back loop, pull up, pull through all 3. You do not have to exaggerate the half double, just the drop down stitch. Now if you bring your hook over, you will see that you're lining up over the stitches. So just pay attention to the fact that you're lining up over the stitches, and you will be fine in choosing where to do the drop down. So I just did over that one, and that means I need to drop down here on the next one. Again, you do not yarn over until you get your hook in there. Yarn over, exaggerate pulling up, and pull through both. I'm going to do this a couple more times. I'm going to take my thumb and turn this towards me, and it's the next stitch right there. Okay, so we're going to yarn over, go into that back loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, and go through all 3. And you do work loosely, but you're not exaggerating the half double. So you can see we're lined up. That means we're going to this next one. you'll get faster at this where you just kind of pull up and keep going. Okay, and this is how it's going to look. Now I will tell you this, it begins to curl on you just a little bit. Don't worry about it curling together. It will start to flatten out the more stitches that the more rows that you put on the scarf. Now we are at the end of, and I have the last 2 stitches here. Now mine ended, and yours may end differently, but mine ended with 2 stitches after the half double, which means I'm going to do this next one as a drop down. And then I'm going to do in the top of my chain and do a half double. And this is what you will do if you have a chain on the end and you're ending with your half double. Do the half double right into the chain. If you are ending where you've done a half double already, then you're going to do a second one in the top of the last stitch. So you're always ending with a half double, and you're always starting with a half double or a chain. And it doesn't really matter because that it's not the same on either end because it's textured. So this is our first row of the second color. We're going to chain 2 and turn. For the second row. And now for the second row, we're going to do as we did for the first one, which is half double all the way across. Now, as you look, you can see that our chain is lining up right here along with this other stitch below. We're going to go into the next one and do our half double. So if you kind of turn it towards you and pay attention to where your stitches are landing, you will be able to know where you're supposed to be putting your hook. Now we're going to go through the back loop of each stitch all the way across, doing half doubles. Coming up to the last 2 stitches on this row, I'm going to do a half double crochet there, and see I've coming up to that chain, so I'm going to do a half double in this chain. Now we are at the end of our second color. We're not going to chain yet because we're going to do that with our first color. Give yourself a little tail. Make a loop, pull it inside. And then you're going to chain 2. And turn. This is how we are looking. On some sides, you will see your back loop. It will leave a ridge, and it's not going to be the same because you're going back and forth and you're using the 2 rows. Not all of it is going to be on the front. What is going to be on the front is the drop downs. So every time that you do the drop down, it'll be on the same side. But the ridges that are left from doing the back loop will be on both sides as you go along. Okay, now we're going to do the next section, the next 2 rows with our color 1, and it's alternating. So we're going to alternate the drop down. So here we have our chain that's running along with this end stitch. Then we have this second stitch, and then right here you see there's the drop down. We want to alternate our drop down. So we're going to drop down on this one before that drop down. So the stitch before the drop down below. So we're not going to yarn over. We're going to go right down there to the belly of that stitch. So here's the one we just did. This is the next one down. We're going to go to the belly of that there. Pull up a loop. Now here's where you have to make it a little loose, but not terribly long either. Yarn over, and go back here into the back loop, do our half double, make sure things are lining up. So now your half double lines up over the drop down here, and this drop down winds up over the half double from the one below. And that's the way all of them are now going to go. So here was our drop down. So now we're going to go down here to the next. Okay, now I'm going all the way down here to this one below. Pull it long, pull it through. It's easy to get confused as you're going along and you're doing this. You're like, oh, I got this. And for some reason, every now and then, I will go down and do the one right below instead of down next to. And I don't know why. It's just, you know, a habit kind of thing. You get into a rhythm and then you'll be fine. So here it is right here. Make it long. Pull it through. Now we do the half double. And this is why I said that you will tend to curl up. And that is because until you get more rows on it, it wants to pull itself forward into itself. Okay, we're coming to the last 2 stitches here at the end of this change in color. The first row of our change in color. And you see I have 2 here, and this one is a drop down. I just did a drop down. So now I'm going to do a half double. And that leaves me with the chain, and I'm going to do a half double in the top of the chain. As I said before, you don't want to do that drop down on that end stitch. Now, since this is our second row of this color, we are going to chain 2 and turn. And this is how the back looks. As you can see, it's trying to curl up, but it'll straighten out. Now we're going to go into the next stitch, which is right here. Do our half double in the back loop. And if you're ever unsure whether you did that correctly, turn it back over and look and see if it lines up. There's that one, and there's that one, and it's lining up. Turn it back over and keep on going. Half double crochet in every stitch. Okay, I'm going to get to the other end and I'll be back. Okay, coming up to the end. Here's my chain, and here is the last half double. So I'll do a half double in the back loop only of that one, and then I'm going to do a half double in this last chain. Top of that right there. I hope that was in frame. Okay, now you're going to work in this manner back and forth alternating the drop downs. When you get to as wide as you want your scarf to be, you're going to finish. Your finishing row is going to be your starting color, and it's going to be the row of just half double crochets, and you will be finished. So you go back and forth using the two colors until you get as wide as you want it. I'm going to try to use as much of the two yarns as I can. And of course, I will come back and show you. You will at some point have seen how wide mine is to get to that. Okay? All right, you guys have fun doing this. So, as you can see, I finished it, and I really love this pattern. I really love this stitch. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it, but just know that you could do a lot of different things with this stitch besides make this scarf. But I'm putting it all in one video, so you have the finished project, you have the tutorial on how to do the stitch, and then let me tell you what I think. So I did make this very long because my intention was for this to be a men's scarf. So it is 7 feet long. Okay. So another way that you could do this would be this, like this, or you could do where you just wrap it one time instead of like I did a minute ago and wrapping it around twice. You could just do it like that and wrap it the one time also. And I kind of like that, but it looks so pretty on Tawanda. With it wrapped twice. Anyway, this is the Benjamin scarf. So it has, I finished up with four repeats of one color and 5 repeats of the other color. However, it's really 4 repeats here and then 3 repeats of the color 1, and then you start and end with color 1, and then I went back around just the end to finish it off on both of these with a single crochet row, chain across here, single crochet across the ends. And you just, you know, and it did flare out a little bit, but that's okay because it's really, this stitch is kind of stretchy, so it's really not flared. And it does still want to roll, and I would recommend that you definitely wash it after you finish and lay it flat. And after you do that, it lays a lot better. But I kind of like it either way because honestly, both sides look pretty good. You know, if you were just doing this stitch, it would look just great. I wanted to come back and make sure I told you any particulars. I did have enough left over that I'm going to try to make a hat, and I will put that in a separate video. I don't have that done yet. I'm about 1/3 of the way. I showed it the other day on my live, but I really want to show you that. Now, let me just say, you could make a hat, you could make a cowl, you could make a blanket. You could turn this into a wrap. If you made it wider, then it would be just a full wrap. It's a great stitch. You could work it if you wanted to do that same stitch, but you wanted it to go the other direction. You would just start and do your, whatever your size of your scarf you want it to be, and then work that stitch back and forth going up. And then you could do it that way if you did a cowl. I'm working it long ways to make the hat so that the hat will be the same as this. So yeah, I'm having to add a little bit more in. I had enough that I could have done a small, like a child's hat, but not enough left over to do a full adult beanie. Because I love this yarn, Fuzzy Slippers, and the Big Twist from Joann's, which is the Heather in denim. And these are both number 4, so you can use number 4 weight yarn. I mean, you could do this in any weight you wanted to. You just have to adjust the length of your chain and the needle or what that you use, and you know, according to whatever's on the label. 632 yards of yarn. So roughly for this, I used 600 yards of number 4 weight yarn. So I wanted to be sure and throw that in for you. Thank you guys. I hope you like it. If you make it, please, please go over to my Facebook group and send me a message. Put up a picture and join my group, and that way I can see, or you can tag me on Instagram. You'll find me everywhere as Fiber Floozie Crafts. You can email it to me if you don't have any other way to do that, but I'd love to see if you make it. Have fun, everyone. Have a great day. Have fun today, and I'll see you for the next video. Bye, everybody.